What's up, guys? My name is Hayden Bishowski, and welcome to podcast episode number 2 of the Hayden Bishowski Show. I'll be having on a very special guest for the podcast today, and you might want to stay to the end because it's going to be a good one. Man, let's just get right into it. Now, if you notice, I am wearing a Baylor hoodie. I'm wearing the green and gold, and if you know me well, I'm a huge Texas Longhorn fan through and through. I will ride or die for my Texas Longhorns. But there was a point in my childhood, a good 2 or 3 years, where the Baylor Bears had my heart. That Baylor Bear football team, I was drawn in. And there was one particular player that was kind of the reason for it. And that one player just might be on my podcast today. Man, Bryce, what an honor for you to be on my podcast today. Glad to have you.
Absolutely, Hayden. Great to be here.
Now, before we get into the questions, I have to let this be known. As someone who works in sports media, you kind of have to play it cool while you're speaking to pro athletes. But you're going to have to bear with me now because I'm kind of having a crazy full circle moment right now. When I was a little kid, I kind of worshipped you. When I was in 4th grade, I waited 5 hours in line just to get your autograph at Baylor. I had all of your college jerseys and NFL jerseys. I watched you play from college to NFL. I had all of your autographs. I mean, you name it, I had it. I was a firm believer that it was Bryce Petty's world and everyone was just living in it. And, I mean, you were a true role model for me. And, I mean, it's truly an honor for you to even be on.
No doubt, man. Hey, we all put pants on one leg at a time. It's fun. It's fun to do what you're doing. Where you just get to talk. You just get to talk and hear, especially from me. I think, especially kind of going post-ball, you realize that, man, sport in nature is an awesome opportunity. It's a great platform, but you realize there's so much more life than in sport. I think sometimes media makes it a little bit bigger. Than it is easier than it is. So I would just encourage you to take that. Maybe you give guys a unique platform on your podcast. So enjoy that. We're not as cool as some people think we are. But it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
To give a quick little summary about you, so you are a former NFL player playing for the New York Jets and some time with the Miami Dolphins. You are a Baylor Bear football legend, leading the Bears to 2 Big 12 championships and were a Heisman candidate for 2 straight years. But before we get into all of that, how did this come to be? When did your love for the game of football kind of just start?
Man, you're going way back now. But I actually I got into football because I was too rough in the house. Mom was like, you have to have an outlet here because I don't have any more bases or beers or paintings you can break. And so I very quickly kind of jumped into football and just loved hitting. I loved getting hit. I was just a rough kid. I always wrestling with my dad. It's funny, man. We were for Easter weekend. We were at my parents' house, and I have a 2-year-old son. And there's so many similarities that my parents see of him and when I was a kid. So I was always rough. Mom got me into it. Dad got to coach, so it was just kind of a family then. That started, man, shoot, I guess when I was 5 years old.
So let's just talk about your high school career, man. You become the starting quarterback for Midlothian at the ripe age of 15 years old. You start your high school journey in a brand new Texas high school football stadium. Do you think kind of getting thrown into the fire at such a young age is kind of what helps you down the road in college and NFL kind of be poised in such a huge environment that high school in Texas kind of offers?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot to compare to. We lived in Arkansas first and 9th grade. We ran the wing tee or the wishbone, and some people, that's basically just like 3 yards of cloud dust. You're handing the ball off every play. I played baseball growing out of that, and I was into football. So I really didn't know what was going on. And then when we moved here my sophomore year, going into my sophomore year, that spring ball was kind of the first time that I got to see myself throw in a competitive light and stack up against who else was out there. So had a senior that was kind of touted to be the guy. Had new coaching staff come in, and so just kind of all the stars aligned. As a sophomore, I got to start, and I tell you what, it's really, to your question, I think it was really the camps going out of my junior year to my senior year, really camps going from my sophomore year, junior year, where, a lot of the kids in the community, different school districts, different teams got to come in. And when you get to see it, I was always a guy that I needed to see myself do it. I had self-belief, but it was a different self-belief. Once I saw it, then it was like, okay, I can go. And so being a part of those camps and stacking up with those guys, throwing pretty well, is kind of what helped me realize, okay, man, I think I can do this. And then, got an offer to Portland State. That was my first offer to play at the next level. And then eventually ended up committing to Tennessee for half a second until former got let go. Kiffin came in, and excuse me, if y'all remember back in the day, Taj Boyd was the quarterback at Clemson when I had a heck of a career himself. But we were both committed there, both split. Coach Montgomery was in my coach's office my senior year, going, hey, I know just be committed, but I'd love for you to come meet Coach Bryce. And so I got to meet Coach Bryce, man, and it was what you see is what you get, man. He was honest, he was just a Texas coach through and through, which I certainly appreciated. So that was kind of the story getting there. But I think part of that realization for me was just seeing it around other people as much as being in, the Texas high school stadium.
So, Bryce, you were an absolute gunslinger out there. I mean, Art Briles kind of centered an offense around you that was highly explosive. You threw the deep ball really, really well. And not to mention, you had a very, very phenomenal receiver group out there with you. I mean, I'm talking guys like Corey Coleman, Antoine Goodley, Katie Cannon, those type of guys, where you would just kind of throw the ball out there and they would make a impeccable play. So my question to you is, with that arm strength, how did you kind of come to figure out that you had that arm strength? I mean, did you play baseball at one point? I mean, what made you realize, hey, man, I can be a quarterback?
So I did play baseball. But I was just naturally a strong guy, and I guess in terms of correlating that to the throw, I always had strong hips, and so that's what you had to have with the football. But I was lucky enough to where when I first got to Baylor, we were spread offense when we were in high school. Didn't do a whole lot of down the field stuff. We did some things. And then when I got to Baylor, everything that Coach Bryce liked to do was more, I don't know, set up formations, kind of be a little more trickeration, if you will. A lot of horizontal things. And we still play fast, just horizontal. And then if you remember, our D3 sophomore year, going into his redshirt sophomore year towards ACL, we came in that camp, and all of a sudden it was like, Coach Bryce and Coach Staff had an epiphany of, man, we got the fastest guy on the field. We're going to play fast and we're going to run deep. And so they kind of changed the whole offense. And that is what you guys got to witness as fans, is just a whole lot of points, a whole lot of explosive plays, which is all Coach Bryce wanted, was explosive plays. And so I was certainly, I benefited from that system a lot, because it was just a lot of fun to play. We got to a point where we just wanted to make the defense wrong. We wanted to play fast, spread them out, get tired and make those guys make decisions, kind of in a split second. And then that was the step that we needed, because to your point, man, Katie Cannon, Corey Coleman, Antoine Goodley, Clay Foley, Levi, these guys were just they were blazers, man. So they got passionate, they were gone.
Man, to see that offense live, man, just the explosiveness, just torching defenses left and right. It was absolutely beautiful to watch. And I was just about to ask you, when selecting colleges, what made Baylor feel like home to you? And you already kind of answered that question with head coach Art Briles, the way he had that Texas grit to him. And so what was Art Briles' coaching style like, and how was your connection with Art Briles?
Coach Bryce did a lot of things well, but I think what he really did well was find out how to get the most out of you. So hey, to recruit, whether you're playing quarterback, receiver, DB, linebacker, it didn't really matter. He got the most out of you. So for me, it was I've always been such a people pleaser, man. So I would try to please him in everything that I did. And he just naturally kind of put some grit behind him. He loved gritty quarterbacks. He liked guys like he always wanted us to have long hair, and probably if he could tell us to go get tattoos and ear piercings, he would have. But he just liked his quarterback to be gritty. He didn't want the pretty boy kind of quarterback. So everything that we did was to get grimy and dirty and go get the extra yard, put your head down, that sort of thing. He loved a leader coming from that quarterback position. Again, in a gritty way as opposed to the pretty way. So I love being around him, and he again, in terms of just elevating my play, elevating the player I was on the field, the leader I was on and off the field, and the man that I was off the field, he elevated all of that. So I loved him.
Now, I do have to say, as someone who is a viewer from the couch watching all these games, the way that Art Briles carried himself on the sideline, it seemed to be that he's a bit of a fiery character, somebody that you definitely do not want to make a mistake in front of on the football field. So as the starting quarterback for his team, was there a few times where he would just give you a stern butt chewing, where you just kind of have to take it under the chin and keep on going?
Yeah, he was a competitor. He's probably I would tell you, in terms of our locker room, he was top three, if not the guy, which is great to have as your head coach. I think a lot of times, nowadays they have to kind of be CEOs and delegators because of NIL, because of all this other stuff. That guy was just as much. I think if he could have suited up, he would have. And he just always had a thing. He would tell us that the name on the back of your jersey means way more than the name on the front of your jersey. That was how you carried yourself, how you presented yourself, the decisions that you made, but ultimately work ethic, too. So carrying that family name, have pride in your family name was a big deal for him, especially you guys know the story where lost his parents, a tragic story, headed to a game, I think at SMU when he was at Houston. So, through his life experience, that's kind of what created some of that coaching style, some of the grit, the competitiveness. He just wanted to put the throttle down and bury you. And we got to see that a lot on the sideline, especially against our friends at TCU. that was a hate week at TCU.
Oh, don't you worry. We'll be getting into that TCU game here very, very shortly. So as you arrive at Baylor, I'd assume that it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows from the start. And that was because you joined a team that was very talented at the quarterback position, like Heisman winner Robert Griffin III, and also a very, very talented quarterback in Nick Florence. You had to wait 3 years to finally get the starting job at quarterback. So how frustrating was it waiting behind Robert Griffin III and Nick Florence? And what did you learn from them while waiting before you got the starting role at quarterback?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the hard part about quarterback position in its nature is there's only one guy in the field. And we are kind of always, atypical in our competitiveness. We want to be the guy with the ball in our hands. We want to be out there. So the waiting was really hard. And I don't think it was as hard. Again, kind of like I told you the first part of this podcast, I really need to see myself do it. I need to see myself succeed and be successful. For me to kind of, again, expand that inner confidence, the self-confidence. So, but once it was a certain maturity level where, and everything from the weight room, I was, kind of top of the weight room, I was running well, I was throwing well, doing all those things, to where when Griff left, we had that basically a breakout season for Baylor football. I really felt like, hey, I've got a chance to be the guy here as a sophomore again. Going in, but Nick at that time, Nick had come in when Griff tore his ACL, proved himself, did a lot, and so it was, for Coach Briles, it was like, man, I got to give him his shot, his chance, and that was the hardest part probably that offseason. I never really had a chance to compete. It was kind of Nick's lose, and Nick's a smart guy, great, very talented quarterback, so he wasn't necessarily going to lose that by any means. Even though I kind of felt like there were times where I probably developed our offense a little bit better. Again, that's just competitiveness and who I was. But at that time, it's also where I really learned my faith, where I was like, okay, God, there's a reason that I'm waiting. I'm going to be the best backup quarterback I can possibly be. And so that was my mentality kind of going into it, which was good. It was a growing season for me, a maturing season for me in a lot of different facets. And then we got to take the G's in my junior year, and we did really well. But going back to your other question, learning how high guys is always interesting, right? Because I think you have some guys that are truly best. that are at a tail end of their career. You see this more in the NFL, a lot more than you do in college, right? Tail end of their career, where they kind of know exactly what their role is, getting a young guy ready. Not the same kind of deal there in college by any means. It's, I kind of hate to say it, it's a little bit more cutthroat, a little every man for himself. So, Griff wasn't going to come in there and do extra filming because I asked, even though, part of me saying that too, I didn't ask, right? I wanted to do my own thing. Same thing for Nick. So a little bit more isolation, where I think, having that question is kind of interesting because I think as I look back, I probably could have or should have asked, for some of those guys. So anyways, yeah, it's definitely more seen in the NFL where you got certain roles for guys.
That's really, really interesting because not many people get to see the behind the scenes of just how cutthroat college football can be. It's not like the NFL where you're given a few years to develop through the NFL veterans that came before you. In college football, you have 4 or maybe 5 years to work, and you're trying to get on the field as quick as possible. And it can get cutthroat at times. You have to compete against your friends that are in their same position group. And it just gets really, really competitive. So it's really interesting that you did say that. And it's also insane to look back on now just how talented that quarterback room was. I mean, each one of y'all made a huge impact on Baylor. And it was kind of insane that y'all all went back to back with each other. And y'all all kind of started together at the beginning. But guess what? You finally waited your turn, and it's your time to be the starting quarterback of the Baylor Bears. And you immediately take the college football world by storm. Now, Bryce, you're an absolute gunslinger, like I mentioned earlier. You end the year with over 4,200 yards, 32 touchdowns, and win Baylor's first ever football Big 12 championship. You're a Heisman candidate along guys like Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, and I even think Johnny Manziel was part of that class as well. You're also a star quarterback playing in the Fiesta Bowl. What was it like acclimating such a position? I mean, you went from backup quarterback to being the center of the country. What was it like kind of taking on that role, being the head guy at Baylor and being one of the top football players in the country?
I think that there's good and bad to it, right? I think that for where we were at Baylor, man, it's such a small campus, a little bit isolated. You're certainly not, the prowess of your esteemed college at UT or A&M or Oklahoma. They had the tradition of winning, so we were a little bit more isolated. But the cool part about that whole thing was, man, we were so focused on us that I don't even know if I looked up to see what was going on, in the national scene by any means, especially not an individual athlete. I think you put goals out there, naturally your goals are going to be win Heisman, first overall, all that sort of thing. But I think what we really wanted to do was go out and prove. At that point, we had the breakout year with Griff. We had some things kind of go our way. Some things not go our way next season in 12. To where we were just super hungry going into 13, and we knew that, man, that offseason was kind of where we looked around like, not only do we belong, but we're gonna step on throats here to get to the rest of it, but step on throats here. Football's about games, something that you talk about, but we just wanted to go out there and beat up on people. And so all that to be said, the finally getting the keys, I had waited so long to get to that moment, and everything was just kind of about, man, take care of my craft and make sure that, but these guys are so talented. Just don't put these guys in positions to not be successful. So it was much more point dishing the rock and let those guys do what they did. So it was a fun point of view. Probably the best point of view of anybody. They were in the stands watching on TV, but my point of view, being able to watch some guys just run really fast all around, have fun doing it. We had a lot of joy those 2 years for sure, especially being able to win the Big 12. So it was a lot of fun to be part of and be instrumental in handling the ball every play.
As you just mentioned, Baylor was kind of isolated from everyone else. They're located in Waco, Texas, which is not a huge college town. And Baylor's just not as big of a school in general compared to these large SEC Big Ten schools, like Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss. And they weren't exactly known for being a prominent football program either. They didn't have much of a winning culture when it came to the sport of football. They were generally known for being a basketball school. Then all of a sudden, guys like you and RG3, Nick Florence, and look at the talented players that were on your team, like Sean Oakman, Andrew Billings, Bryce Hager, Shock, Levi Norwood, and the rest of the receiver crew that we were talking about a while ago. Why all of a sudden are all these really talented football players going to Baylor? The school that was generally known as a basketball program is starting to become a football program. Like, how did that all kind of come to be?
That's easy, man. That was all Coach B. Coach Bryce came in from Houston, and it just had the chip on his shoulder that he was going to turn the program around. And to your point, it's a great point. We were a basketball school for a while, a very forgotten school when it comes to fall, during football season. And so for him to do what he did and turn that the tide of just one, our self-belief, but two, the tradition of winning, and who we felt like were definitely trickling in the recruiting class, to where guys were getting offers from UT and to pick Baylor. And that was the big change. I mean, we had some really good athletes, and that was another thing, again, testament to Coach Bryce and our coaching staff. But, recruiting, again, at that time, it wasn't just about a bag of money. But recruiting at that time, you actually had to be able to evaluate players and then get the most out of them. Coach Bryce was always really good at being able to pick certain guys, certain positions of what he needed. Again, like I said, whether it was grit, whether it was a little bit more dog in him, loved the three-star guy, loved the three-star guy that had a whole lot to prove, because that was him. And so all that to be said is that's what really transpired over my career at Baylor, was watching 4 or 5-star guys, was just 3-star guys, and what he elevated was actually get guys that were really good. Picked Baylor over, again, Texas, Florida, Miami, Clemson, like those kind of guys. So, and then if you win Texas in the recruiting battle, you are going to be a successful football team, because Texas prints athletes, man. So that's what they wanted to do, is win the Houston area, the DFW area. There's a lot of good football play in Texas, and so they did a really good job of, when they came into the offensive meeting or the defensive meeting in high school, that they had the best guy.
Now, after having a great regular season on your first year as the starting quarterback as a Baylor Bear, you win the Big 12 championship and you make it to a New Year's Six bowl game. Now, back then, bowl games were a lot more crucial than they are now, and you play against a really talented UCF team led by quarterback Blake Bortles. And now, granted, you didn't win this game. I love to highlight some key moments on this podcast, and one of those key moments, I think, in my opinion, was the flip in the end zone during that Fiesta Bowl game. Can you elaborate more on that play?
No, I mean, just a broken down play, scrambled out to the right, and saw some green grass. So naturally, the speed that these guys have, green grass poses pretty quick, especially when you're a slow guy like myself. And so, no, we just had to get in the end zone, man. And so it's not something you think about. It's just kind of something you react to. And ended up trying to go to the corner and cut my legs out from under me, so I flipped. And but it was pretty epic, man. It's one of those things that once you come to it, you're like, okay, I'm good, neck's good, everything's good. Now we can celebrate. It was a really cool play, and definitely not the outcome we wanted to come out of there with. UCF they had a great team, similar to that year, and but that was certainly a game that I think 9 times out of 10 would win that, but did win it, and here we are.
So you capped off a very successful first year as the starting quarterback for Baylor, and you enter the offseason as preseason favorites to win another Big 12 title, and you are highly ranked to being a possible playoff contender for next season. Let's not forget you were also a Heisman candidate as well. So you enter the next season. Y'all opened up a brand new, beautiful football stadium, McLean Stadium. It's beautiful, and y'all started off hot, and no one doubted y'all there. Y'all were 5-0. Y'all were ranked number 5 team in the country, and guess what? Y'all's bitter rival, TCU Horned Frogs. They were 4-0. They were ranked number 9 in the country, and a very talented star, Trayvon Boykin, the quarterback, is coming into Waco to McLean Stadium to take away y'all's ranking and y'all's record. And they almost did that, but guess what? Y'all had one of the biggest comebacks of all time and one of the biggest college football games of all time. It was an absolute barn burner, and it was impeccable to watch that game. But you ended up throwing a pick six with 11 minutes to go, and it's now a 21-point deficit. It's 58-37. What is your mindset after you throw that pick six, and how do y'all overcome that adversity and achieve the comeback of a 21-point deficit with 11 minutes left to go?
Yeah. No, I've been able to talk about this game a lot. It's actually a lot of Baylor fans' favorite games, and it's one of my favorites as well. Because every quarterback likes to have that big comeback game under the belt. So, anyways, yeah, 2:30 CBS games, big game. I think we were number 4. They were number 6, something like that. So it was a lot of heat. And again, had it been anybody else, I think it would have been important, but because it was TCU, Bryce and Patterson had this feud that they just didn't like each other, and it trickled down to every one of us on the team. And anyway, so it was an unbelievable game. But yeah, man, you throw a pick at any time, it sucks, but especially a pick six. And that was my second one of the game. So that was something I really did do, is throw a lot of picks. And but I got to the sideline, and this is something I tell a lot of people when I talk about the game. But there was so much belief on our sideline that we could score in a hurry, we could score a bunch in a hurry, that there was, you kind of look down, and there was just kind of this unspoken, hey, let's go. It's we got 11 minutes left. Let's put in a game. And I think the drive after that is what was kind of the staple in that whole game, because if you remember, I think we ran it. I think Shock ran 4 or 5 times, just pop. I mean, it was getting 11, 12 yards carry, and that's for a quarterback, again, it's a lot of times, like I said before, it's only one on the field, but still it's a team game. So a quarterback can't win a game just as much as he can lose a game by himself. So to have that, those are the 10 guys who are ready to rock and roll. All of them, hey, you're our guy, let's go. We don't have any unbelief that we can go do this. So that was a cool part of that moment of everything we had kind of come up through, to have the self-belief that, Rob's going to change the culture. We did that. We're going to win the championship. We did that. 2014 was definitely national. That was the first year of the playoff too. So a lot of national implications at that point. And have an opponent like TCU come in and down 21 and come back and win it on a field goal was epic. So it was definitely one of my favorite games of my career.
Man, I have to say, that was probably one of the craziest college football games I've ever seen live on television. You've been through a lot of hostile environments when it comes to college football. What is one that kind of stood out to you?
That's the easy one, man. I always say Oklahoma State was a pretty hard place to play. Naturally, I didn't have a great game that game either. That was in 2013. But those guys are, I swear, they're almost 3 feet, 4 foot off the sideline from me. They have those stupid pounds, and they're banging inside of it, And that was a game day that day. So Kirk Herbstreit and the game day crew were there, and I think we were 3 going into that week. And so just tough game. That's a tough place to play too. They love their football and their alcohol too, which is always fun. It gets kind of hostile.
So I wanted to discuss 2 things that you didn't have when you were playing college football, one being NIL and the second being a playoff format that's extended. When you played, it was 4 teams. Now it's 12. Are you jealous at all about the way college football is being played now? Because players are getting paid a lot of money. And also, you would have made the playoffs twice if you had that same format.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've always said this, but I've got 2 different opinions on NIL. So I love the guys who get paid, because I was a part of a locker room where you watch guys, sitting there stipend. At that time, maybe you were off campus, you got whatever, $600, and they were sending $600 back home. So I love guys getting paid. The things, my second thing that I don't like about NIL is this free agency world. I don't like how guys can just jump. I think it's bad for the game. I think it's bad for the fans. I think it's bad for the universities, the institutions themselves. And then because I was able to play in the NFL, I think it's going to hurt the development of these guys into the league. Because if you haven't had, again, not everybody has to have a career like mine, but I certainly grew a lot, matured a lot by waiting and developing that way. So definitely some things I think I need to fix. But yeah, I would have loved the extended playoff. Man, that would have been blast. Because I think a playoff system is great for college football. I always love Cinderella stories, but also that is true. Like that best team we were playing as BCS. Kind of crap. I didn't love that as much. I was always slated, I think, more towards paying fans versus not. Some people probably still have an expression that they still have the same sort of system, but once you get out there in 60 minutes and you're between the white lines, anything can happen, right? So But I think it's definitely a different era of football. I don't know if jealousy is the right word. It'd have been great to sit there and have a quarterback. I think they're paying quarterbacks now $3-4 million, which is nuts to play a game. But I've always loved the fact that we all played to get to the NFL. We all played to get paid to be a professional in that sense. So I just wish they kind of harnessed that in a little bit. I think the cat's out of the bag. I don't know if they have the ability to come back now, but certainly a different world.
Now, to kind of cap off your college career at Baylor, so you play your last game in Arlington against the Michigan State Spartans for the Cotton Bowl, and you end your college career as a Baylor legend. Now, although you lost that Cotton Bowl game, you ended up still winning the MVP of the game because you threw for 550 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And one of these touchdowns I have to bring up because it's easily one of my favorites. Y'all threw a passing touchdown to big old Laquan McGowan. What was the game plan behind that? Because that was just a ridiculous play.
Well, it started actually, I think, almost in camp that year. I mean, for people who don't know, Laquan McGowan is one of the largest human beings I've ever been around. I think he was 6'8", 400. I mean, the guy, we would go and lift, and he would just be in sweats on a treadmill, So, but we started going out. He was always one of the first guys to go out to practice. And everything he caught one-handed. And so coach started throwing out this idea of like, man, we can, kind of put him in the game, and no one's going to expect anything. So we actually had a 2-play series, not a series, but a 2-play call to where we get up really fast. We're in the red zone. When I had this, we knew it kind of going into the game. Then we got this certain play call that was the 2-play series, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But so anyways, Laquan lined up as a tackle over, went to right, kind of got back to the line really quickly, and then we kind of did again some trickeration, let him kind of slip up there. And I think they were on like the 12-yard line, which was perfect for him. And all I was saying is like, don't make him try for this ball. Sometimes it's a really quick kind of throw. Things get very sometimes, but it worked out really well for us. It was awesome to see a 400-pounder score a touchdown. I think that made a lot of people jump up and down. So that's part of football that always brought that made it fun.
The crazy thing to me was I think he caught 2 or 3 more touchdowns the next year. I don't know how it kept on happening, but hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah. No, man, you can hide those guys even as big as they are. You can hide those guys because no one expects it. So it was a great little scheme by Coach Riles and Coach Wine that year.
So you ended up getting drafted to the New York Jets in the 4th round, the 103rd pick. So what was the feeling like getting drafted by an NFL team, and what was the differences from college football to the National Football League?
The draft night was in a weird way, man. I don't want to sound pretentious by saying this. Draft night was tough for me because I thought, I was in camp with James and Marcus, and I had the career that I had, they had the careers they had, Heisman winners, but really felt like, apples to apples, man. We were very similar in terms of what we do in the football. And so to slide as much as I did was tough, but at the same time too, our system is very different. So, going into your second question, you're talking about really, I've always considered what we did at Baylor Checkers, man. We just played fast, we knew what we did, we had, whatever it was, 12 plays, it was more than that. But we repped those 12 plays religiously, right? So we knew exactly what we were doing, and that's what made it successful. When you get to the NFL, it's definitely PhD in your chest, right? It's kind of what I consider it. It's high-level football. Anytime, man, you huddle up, you get we had basically 2 words. One was the line call or line protection. The other was route concept, and that was it. You said ready to go, and that was it. Then you get to the NFL, man. There's so much processing that takes place, and so it's definitely a hard transition, for me. But I've always said when I got that question, and the front 7 is what really separates the NFL from every other league that you're going to play. The front 7, those guys are nasty, they're big, they're fast. They hit really hard and they're pissed off. So that front 7 makes life really hard. You you gotta really know where you're going with football. You don't want to stand back there and pad football because it's not gonna work for you. So, but it was great. It was great to achieve an accomplishment and a dream I had for a long time playing in the NFL. I watched Trent Green and the Chiefs back in the day. I'll never forget kind of sitting there watching on Sunday. Shooting this probably when I was 10 or 11, telling Dad I want to play in the NFL. And so to be in that place and be blessed by the Lord to achieve that goal was awesome. So it's taken a while to kind of appreciate and be present with it because again, as a competitor, you want you just want more, and that's the hard thing. And it's to enjoy the process, to enjoy being present and what you did and what you were able to accomplish. It doesn't matter if it was Tom Brady illustrious 7 Super Bowl career or not. You made it. You want to. At that time I had 7 starts, so at one point I was one of 32 people on the planet to do what I was doing. That's a really cool thing to say, and something I enjoy telling my kids about and all that kind of stuff. But it was certainly a hard night, but it was a good night at the same time when I got there.
During your NFL career, you spent 2 seasons with the Jets and a little bit of a stint with the Dolphins. Now, not to bring up bad stories here, but during your time as a Jet, you were playing against the Dolphins, and you got sacked, and it was a brutal hit from Ndamukong Suh and Cameron Wake. And then the following season, you joined the Dolphins squad. Was it awkward joining that team, especially if I'm not mistaken, Ndamukong Suh and Cameron Wake were both still there at the time?
No, he got traded that year. I can't remember. Maybe we went to Tampa Bay that year. But Cam Wake was definitely in there. So Cam was one of the first guys to smile when I walked into the building. But it's actually funny, dude. I was at his Easter service at church. I got given to in church. I was like, dude, man, I'm so sorry about that hit. So I still get guys here today talking about that hit, but it was. There's definitely a funny story to it. And I even told him, I promise my line liked me, but it's just kind of a crazy deal. And that was not a fun hit. That definitely one that they rang for a few days after that.
Man, I have to tell you, man, I did not want to bring that up. I really didn't. But it was one of those questions I had to bring up because it's one of those hits that you see on YouTube and you're just like, man, that looked brutal.
Yeah.
So after you sadly left the league, I think a big question for you and a lot of these former NFL guys once they leave the league is what's left on the agenda? What are you doing nowadays now that football is finally over?
I'm with you. Man, we've got 3 beautiful kids. I got a beautiful wife. We're up here in South Lake, Texas, and so just started my own venture company, if you will, in January. So that's been fun. Entrepreneurship's a crazy deal. I think I pray more now than I ever did playing. But it was good. I mean, like I said, it wasn't the career that I wanted, but it was the career that God had for me, and that's something that I really I enjoy kind of basking in that. And so when we got out, thanks God, I grabbed a few alumni and said, man, I think I'm ready for something else. What do you do? Do you like it? Is there anybody else that you can introduce me to? So much like you're doing, man, you just part of life is taking chances and enjoying, like I said, the process. I'm just a big process guy. Enjoy the process of failure. It's okay to fail. It's okay to shoot for something and not make it. And those things are learning. They're finding for you as a man, and especially in this life too. Man, the world's hard. So we've been able to again have really cool conversations because of my NFL career. It kind of lowers the time limit for some people, which is a lot of fun. And they're great memories. Great memories. So, but we're enjoying what we do now. I don't get hit near as much. I don't get yelled at, which is nice. So, enjoying it.
Have you ever considered being a coach or a mentor? I know you just said that you have a son. Are you going to mentor and coach him if he pursues the football route?
I love to coach him. I love to coach him. It's just, football's a great game. And there's so many life lessons that come from football. So, coaching-wise, I've never really thought about coaching. It's a hard life. It's a hard life on families. You really have to be committed to that, and that was something that I never really felt called to do at that time. But we've done QB lessons before, and we enjoy that. Again, I love the growth of players and being able to instill some of the things that I've learned, whether that be mechanically or leadership-wise, or even off the field. With young guys, it's all about the next generation coming up. So done a few of those things, but definitely Coach Bodie. If he's okay with it.
Now, one last question to you, and this should end the podcast on a funnier note. Have you ever hopped on the sticks, whether it's Madden or a college football video game, and just smoke everybody? Because, I mean, you're a former NFL quarterback and college football legend. You should know what's coming before it happes.
Dude, I get smoked in Madden and in NCAA football. I get absolutely smoked. Because I can't stand when you got, you know the coverage, you know where the ball's supposed to go, and the guy apparently has a 58-inch vertical and picks it. I throw more picks in Madden and NCAA that I care to share. So, no, I've never been able to figure that game out, unfortunately. But definitely still get on the sticks with guys, but it's hard to be competitive when I know I'm going to get my butt with.
That's interesting, man. I mean, you're a former NFL quarterback. You should have the advantage on this game.
It's all virtual, man. That's different. Get me on the field, and it's actually you beat me, I'm in.
Okay, one last funny question. With all these new football leagues coming out, whether that's the Arena League or these new leagues, how much money would it take for you to join one of their squads?
They couldn't pay me enough. They couldn't pay me enough to do that.
Although I'd like to continue, I think it's my cue to wrap things up. I just want to say thank you so much, Bryce, for hopping on the podcast. It's an honor. I mean, you were a role model to me and a lot of other people out there. And, I mean, I'm truly blessed to have you on. Thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. Best of luck on the podcast. Love that you're doing it.
Well, that was episode 2 of the Hayden Bushosky Show podcast featuring Bryce Petty. Hope to see you next time. Peace.